First thing we're going to do is we're going to get into what happened with Carolina. And the way we're going to start off with that is understanding what she was doing. So Carolina was investigating a private parking lot where the police were apparently helping getting cars towed from a private parking lot. And there was a private parking meter, I guess, in there. And so she was trying to figure out what was going on. And as a result, an officer named Kruger, who has a history of violence in harming journalists and people who were engaged in government accountability operations, ended up doing a judo throw on her and dropping her on her head with a face plant, knocking her unconscious, where her whole skull is broke open on the asphalt, and then saying, stop resisting, while she's basically snoring, right? Where her brain is trying to keep her alive. So it sounds like she's snoring. And I'm still in shock that the prosecutor brought the case, but I think I know why, because, she was threatening to sue, and obviously the city couldn't afford that. So they had to make sure they got a conviction to make it more difficult for her to bring a civil rights claim. And that's just my experience, 20 years practicing law. That's how I know police departments operate, especially city attorneys and district attorneys, unfortunately, elected officials. And I'm hoping that we can sort of turn that around with petitioning the government, the governor as well, to try to get some kind of clemency for her. I personally believe if I was sitting on the bench, if I was the judge, I would have never allowed a 30-day sentence. I mean, she's served her time in hell. She basically, in my opinion, probably has a brain injury from what happened to her. Very, very upset about this. And I'm not somebody who really gets emotional. I try to be very non-emotional as a lawyer and objective. But this one really has me because she's a woman. I mean, give me a bunch of ones, guys. A man should not be dropping a woman on her head like that, right? I want to see some ones for that. And let me see. I've got some comments here. I got Wassa. I got what's the matter you? James Forbes. Thanks, man. Hey, Dope Sick Foundation. Good seeing you, brother. Always nice hearing from you. I'm just talking to my audience for all the new people to the channel. And again, this is a Saturday night, so it may not be a really huge show, a really, really big shoe, but we'll try to make it big. Thanks, Steve, for joining me. I didn't even think I was going to see you tonight. Let's TV. Oh, good seeing you, man. Jody Shiloh, good seeing you, ma'am. Love having my ladies on the show because this really goes out to you. So what I'm going to do tonight really quickly is expose some stuff that's going on out there that'll probably blow your mind. I mean, you got to understand something. So me being a personal injury attorney, I understand the whole tow truck company scam. And I think it's a scam to a large degree. And if you're a tow truck company and you can become buddies with a dispatcher at the police department, you're sitting on top of a boatload of money. And so what I think was going on is that Carolina was on the verge of exposing something. And for her trouble, she got dropped on her head. And I'm going to show you some stuff tonight that a lot of other First Amendment auditors and cop watchers haven't really been talking about. But I think that this story goes a lot deeper. And I think that this is a story that requires national attention. It's a really big deal. So the first video that I'm going to share with you is obviously the most important one.
Where are your papers, Mav? Where are they? Oh, you don't have any papers? To the concentration camp with you.
All right. That's my favorite one because that's what this company, this corporation, this municipal corporation in a city near you has become. To the concentration camp with you. Don't show your papers. To the concentration camp with you. So as you guys know, I'm a natural law advocate. I believe all of our rights were granted to us by our creator, just like it says in the Declaration of Independence that they don't teach you in the Marxist-run public school system. But that's another story for another day. Let's get into a little bit about Carolina, and then we're going to talk about what I believe is there's something going on here that she was on the verge of discovering with these private tow truck companies colluding and probably potentially even accepting or paying kickbacks, right? I think that she was onto something, but Let's get into this first video and then we'll break it down. All right, let's go.
I come to you with a very different kind of video, one that I am not happy to be making at all. Last night, on the 23rd of June, 2024, my friend Caroline in Fort Worth was arrested by the Fort Worth Police Department, Officer Matthew Kruger. After she was taken into custody, Carolina was transported to a local hospital that has a level 1 trauma center where she is receiving treatment for the injuries that she received to her head during the arrest. At the time of this recording, it's only been a few hours since the incident occurred, so we don't really have any information on her condition. Thankfully, though, Caroline was live streaming as the event occurred so that we at least know what happened. Carolina is somewhat famously known for requesting jail rosters in an attempt to make sure that nobody ever gets lost in the system, which does happen from time to time.
Yep.
Ironically, though, that is exactly what has happened to Carolina in this situation. After Carolina is received at the hospital, she will be known as what's called an in-custody patient, meaning the hospital is really not supposed to publicly acknowledge her existence at all. And what that means is if you were expecting her to come home last night and she didn't, and you got a little bit worried, so you called the hospital to find out if maybe she was involved in an accident, they would tell you that they had no idea what you're talking about, even if they were looking right at her. So you call the police department to find out if maybe she got picked up because, let's face it, Carolina is a little bit of a mouthy one, isn't she? So you call them and find out, and they would say, we don't have any record of her because she's not in the jail. And if you call the police department, of course, they will never make a comment because there's an impending investigation or whatever excuse they come up with at the time. And they'll probably redirect you to the public information officer where you leave a message or send an email, and hopefully one day they'll get back to you, but probably not. While this is breaking news and information is scant, we do have reason to believe that Carolina's injuries are serious, as evident from her recording of the event, as well as Manuel Mata's coverage this morning, when he returned to the scene and found blood and what he identified to be human hair embedded into the concrete. Of course, I'll post links to both of those original videos in the description. I'll also post a link to my secondary channel where I will combine the videos and trim them down for time. Please understand that the content of these videos is graphic, and we may have very well witnessed the last cop watch of Carolina in Fort Worth. This case dramatically highlights what Carolina, myself, and so many other cop watchers have been saying for years, that allowing these loose cannon cops to continue to be on the force is dangerous, and eventually somebody will get hurt. He has only been on the force for about 3 years, and since that time has racked up multiple complaints against excessive force and reckless abandon for public safety. People will often criticize us and people like us for being, as they say, anti-cop. Well, I, for one, am not anti-cop. I am just anti-spiking little old ladies' faces into the concrete. I'm about to play a segment of Carolina's video for all you gore whores out there, but while we're watching this, I just want you to remember that Carolina is a human being with a family and a whole life outside of YouTube. You should ask yourself if her choice to be an independent journalist had anything to do with Officer Matt Kruger's reaction. And I would like you to comment down below if you think Matt Kruger would have had the same reaction if Carolina had just been any other regular old mother asking questions about parking validation.
Okay, here it says, here's the sign. Does anybody know how to do these? This is what the sign says. I got to scratch so let me focus in. Here's what the signs say. The signs say, validated parking. Please register upon parking. Businesses can then validate parking for Polk Street warehouses. Ways to validate. You can scan the QR code or text pay. Failure to pay or extend time may result in boots. Okay, so how do they know if they paid or not? That's what I want to know. How do they know if they paid or not? How do you know if they paid or not? How do you guys know if they paid or not? Oh, they're going to ignore me too. Help, right, fire, 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 fire,
Private
fire.
parking lot, by the way.
That's great community relations too.
Nice tattoo.
How do you know if they paid or not, ladies? Hey, ladies, hey, ladies, hey, ladies. Hey, Kruger. No, I'm not going to before. There's no investigation, there's no nothing.
You can go to the other side of the street, you're going to get arrested.
So she knows who Officer Kruger is because based on what I understand is this dude pulled a gun on like her or one of her friends several days earlier, I guess for jaywalking or something. I don't know. BZ Watchdog can correct me if I'm wrong, but the dude obviously has some serious problems and he should not be on the police force. And what we ended up seeing happening is, well, this.
Said I'm not warning you
What are
again.
you talking about?
Go to the other side of the street right
Why?
now.
Wait, tell me why first.
We're doing an
You're under arrest. You're not.
No, I'm not under it. Okay, you
Stop resisting. Stop resisting.
So she's knocked unconscious. He's knocked unconscious. And of course, they train you in the academy to say, stop resisting, even if the guy's got like 3 bullet holes in his head, right? Because they're always worried about lawsuits. That's what it's all about with these police departments now. Raising revenue and not getting sued. And if they do get sued, damages mitigation. Get that city attorney, get that prosecutor to make sure they get that conviction come hell or high water, because now they can argue res judicata and collateral estoppel, right? And they can poison a future civil jury. And I've explained that in a couple of my other videos. Let's keep going.
She's bleeding.
All right, so you can hear her. She's knocked out and the guy's screaming at her to stop resisting. So I've got some other footage I want to show you. I want you to understand what Carolina was on the verge, I think, of discovering. I think that she found something that was serious, heavy-duty stuff. And I think that that's why this dude tried to cracked her head open. And we're going to start with a Detroit case where they actually did uncover stuff. And then we'll get into some stuff in Texas. So just bear with me, guys. Again, I may not be the best journalist, but I'm a damn good attorney and I know how to do my research. And I want you to follow along with me so you can understand what I think happened here. Because a lot of people are not seeing the forest through the trees like I am. I think Carolina may have uncovered a kickback operation with private tow truck companies and the police force or rogue cops. I'm not sure yet, but there's something going on. And I think that some whistleblowers, I'm not going to tell you how I know, but I think some whistleblowers are going to come forward soon. And I'm hoping that this judge looks at the facts of this case more thoroughly and tries to find a way to at least reverse the sentencing phase until we can find a way to get a decent appellate lawyer to get the case overturned on appeal. But let's just keep going.
But we begin this afternoon with 2 more officers being charged in a federal corruption investigation in Detroit. Thank you for joining us for 7 Action News at 5. I'm Glenda Lewis. According to the indictment today, Lieutenant John F. Kennedy of Rochester Hills and Officer Daniel Vickers of Livonia were both charged with bribery and conspiracy to commit bribery. They're accused of accepting bribes to steer business into a towing company in the city. The towing probe has already led to the resignation of Detroit City Councilman Andre Spivey after pleading guilty. 7 Action News reporter Darren Cunningham with a closer look at the case and the FBI raids that happened earlier today. Darren.
Yes, good afternoon, Glenda. The 2 accused officers, had their initial court appearance in the federal courthouse behind me here this afternoon. Their alleged involvement dates back to early 2016 to as recently as last month.
When you get a lieutenant or a captain involved, it's devastating to the police officers who really out here trying to do their job.
Detroit Police Commissioner Willie Bell speaking about officer morale and the possible impact corruption allegations can have, especially after learning a ranking officer who was once in charge of the integrity unit is allegedly involved.
You got somebody that was leading that unit was involved in the same thing that he was supposed to be investigating.
This indictment details Lieutenant John Kennedy's alleged bribery of a tow company, a company already under investigation by his unit for alleged wrongdoing. The FBI raided his home in Rochester Hills, as well as Officer Daniel Vickers' home in Livonia this morning. Now get this, the city of Detroit has towing contracts with several tow companies. According to city policy, each company is supposed to have a fair opportunity to tow abandoned vehicles on a rotating basis. However, Kennedy is accused of playing favorites and receiving kickbacks for steering business to a particular unnamed towing company and having the officers under him do the same. Vickers, who is an officer in the traffic enforcement unit, is also accused of receiving thousands of dollars and other perks for also allegedly violating the city policy. The two are accused of accepting cash, free car repairs, and cars. Commissioner Bell says the checks and balances in place need another look.
What do you guys think?
And it appears that nothing is working. We still have, how do we get to address the issue to some extent to bring it to a closure? I don't know, because there's still interaction with the police department with tours. So hopefully the measure that's taking place now, I know the mayor is concerned, the chief white is concerned, and we are concerned as the oversight board in terms of how we can manage this.
Sure he is. Concerned about
now, in a
getting
statement
caught.
to 7 Action News, Chief James White says in part that he is profoundly disappointed. Quote, he says, "We will continue to root out corruption and restore trust in the towing process.
Detroit.
The department has already implemented sweeping changes, and there are more to come. Our community deserves honest actors and policing excellence. We are committed to being fully transparent throughout this process."
Let's investigate ourselves.
Now, the Detroit Towing Association also released a statement saying that they have complained about this type of problem for years, and so they're calling for a particular software to be used to help with transparency. Live in downtown Detroit, Darren Cunningham.
Sure they have, just like the union bosses, right, who make deals with both sides and pretend like they're supporting their union members. Sure they are. So let's get into it a little bit more, because this is what I think. This is Detroit, by the way, guys. But, Podunk, Texas, I don't see any difference. They're all municipal corporations. Let's finish up with the Detroit story, and then we'll get into Texas. And what I think that Carolina may have been on the verge of exposing. And I believe this is why she got her head smashed in. Let's keep going.
They got so many twists and turns in this towing investigation. The former cop in question was arraigned here earlier today, and right now he's free on a $10,000 bond. Hey, sir, what have you to say about these bribery allegations?
Sir, I have no comment right now. I'll have my lawyer reach out to you as soon as possible.
A former Detroit police detective charged with bribery in a sprawling FBI towing investigation. According to the feds, 44-year-old Michael Pictellis accepted bribes, including a car for his daughter and more than $3,000 in cash from an unnamed towing company operator over the course of 6 months in 2019, all while working for DPD. In return, Pictellis allegedly agreed to provide favors for that operator. For example, instead of properly recovering stolen vehicles from the towing company's possession, Pictellis removed them from the DPD database that showed they were stolen.
Court cause case number 21-30590, United States of America versus Michael Pictellis.
Pictellis was arraigned in federal court Friday. The FBI arrested Pictellis at the Hamtramck Police Department Friday morning. He's been working there as a probationary officer since April of this year.
How nice of them.
Hamtramck released a statement saying his alleged criminal activities were not known to the city of Hamtramck at the time.
It's interesting. After Kruger body slammed this 90-pound-year-old senior citizen, Carolina and Fort Worth, what did they do? They gave him a desk job. What do they do with this guy? They made him a, you just heard it. Some kind of desk job, probationary officer. I mean, come on, guys. Keep on watching.
He was hired and did not occur in connection with his duties related to the Hamtramck Police Department. Upon learning of the charges, the city took immediate disciplinary action that resulted in his termination from the department.
Got to think outside the box.
Pictellis retired from DPD in 2020. Second Deputy Chief Rudy Harper tells Fox 2 he landed in hot water for posting offensive material on social media and resigned before he could face disciplinary action. Pictellis' arrest is the latest development in an ongoing probe into public corruption in Detroit that's led to charges against elected officials and cops. Last month, a retired Detroit police officer who ran DPD's car auctions for more than a decade pleaded guilty to accepting bribes. In September, former city councilman Andre Spivey pleaded guilty to bribery conspiracy. Is it frustrating to hear that a former Detroit cop is facing charges for bribery to a towing company?
Oh yeah, it's most definitely frustrating, because like these people that we pay our tax dollars to, that we're supposed to trust.
News of the latest twist in the towing scandal frustrates Detroiters like DeAndre Mapp, who for years questioned the city's towing practices.
The guy flagged me down, say, yeah, come and park here. Then you go, park here, you trust me, pay your money. Yeah, your car good. My car good, your car good. And then you come out from the restaurant or come out from eating, and then you come out, your car gone.
And that's what happened to you.
Yeah, that's what most definitely happened to me.
All right, guys, Detroit Police Chief James White says that he fully supports the FBI's investigation and that one officer's alleged actions does not represent the vast majority of Detroit cops. The max penalty for this bribery charge is 10 years in prison. Pactelis due back in court January 7th. Yeah, guys, so many twists and turns.
Right? That's who they caught. So, it's got to be pretty, look, you guys think that that's the only person that's doing this in Detroit? And do you think that Texas is any different? Really? Because I got news for you. I don't. I think there's something going on here. And I think that, right, Jody? You're right, Jody Shiloh. Jody Shiloh says it makes her wonder about Ironton. Look, Jody, I got to tell you something. These police departments, the municipal cops, have a history throughout my job as a lawyer, doing civil rights as well as criminal defense. I've seen it. The ones who actually get caught, they're all in collusion. We saw the judges that were involved in that scheme where they were working with Child Protective Services and private prisons to kidnap children from their parents and put them in private prisons. One of those judges, one of those Pennsylvania judges, it was a human trafficking operation. He was just pardoned by Sleepy Joe today. So you don't think that all these government officials aren't involved in all these operations to make money for themselves? You really think they care about you? There's very few people out there who are willing to expose this stuff. And one of them was Carolina and Fort Worth. And I think that she was on the verge of exposing something in Texas that was similar to what we saw happening in Detroit, what was exposed in Detroit, but it's going on all over the place, for sure. Oh, hell yeah, Brick Jonesy. Brick Jonesy just threw me a super sticker. Everybody make sure to like and subscribe to Brick Jonesy. He's got a cool channel. He's a brother. He's all about holding the government accountable. And we all have to stick together regardless of, we're never going to agree on everything, right? But we have to agree on the things that are most important. And that is definitely holding these government officials accountable. It's just so damn important, guys. You have no freaking idea. So now let's get into the next one. Texas. Let's do it.
Local tow company tonight that is accused of illegally hauling off vehicles and doing it just seconds after the drivers walked away.
Consumer investigator Alana Otler is here with what she uncovered. Gilma, this all
and what was Carolina asking in her video? She was asking, how do we know how long the cars have been here for? I just want you guys to start thinking. Like, look, I'm not bragging that I'm like the best lawyer or the best journalist or whatever, but I've got over 20 years in practice. And I'm telling you right now, I smell something. And I'm hoping that guys like Brick and Let's OTVO and especially BZ Watchdog, by the way, you guys need to support his channel because he spends all of his own money doing these public records requests. BZ, I'm telling you right now, you might be sitting on a gold mine of information that could lead to major investigations against Kruger and that entire police department. I am very, very suspicious about this public-private towing operation. Let's keep watching.
Started last month at the Denny's restaurant in Euless. The Denny's sits at a busy spot. It's surrounded by a Starbucks, a Taco Cabana, and an Office Depot. A Denny's spokesman says too many people were using their parking lot to visit other businesses, so they hired a tow company. But some drivers say their cars disappeared before they had a chance to step inside. Police have been called to the same lot 22 times since June. We were there as officers responded to a call about a car being towed with an elderly woman inside.
He went in and grabbed it from the side, dropped it and bounced it. And that's when I knew something hinky was going on.
You're trespassing.
So this is not the first time the tow truck driver has faced questions over his practices. And after we got involved, Denny's made an about face.
Of course.
As a One for Justice investigation tonight at 10.
We'll look forward to seeing it. If you need justice anytime, give the team a call. They are there for you. 817-586-7211.
Give me a bunch of ones for the super hot reporter. Just kidding, guys, but come on. Hey now. Hey, Salt Shaker. Love you, honey. Thank you so much for supporting Team MPE. That means a lot to me. Salt Shaker just threw me a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Salt Shaker. Thank you for supporting Team MPE. I really do appreciate that. Ex Bootlicker says that's what we call, check it out. That's what we call a clue. That's what we call a clue. There you go. So that's the point I was trying to make, guys, is, a lot of people dismiss Carolina, right? A lot of people do. They dismiss her like direct meth and all those scumbags who hate Chile. And so by extension, they hate all of us who are trying to do what he alleges he's trying to do. But I just think that the dude's a complete, anyway, I don't want to get into it. But the bottom line is I think that Carolina was onto something. And I think that we need to do some more research. And we're going to get into another one. This is a Houston tow truck company. Because look, guys, I just think that Carolina was onto something, and I want Team MPE to help me because, guys, I got a day job, but I've been working on this all day since I got up, and I really do feel in my heart that there's something more going on here. We've got this Kruger guy drawing down on people in crosswalks with his gun, his service pistol, and body slamming a woman who's a senior citizen who's about 90 pounds. Because she's asking questions like, hey, how do we know how long these cars have been here for? And then that's exactly what all these tow truck schemes are all about. And then we have this weird court case where any other prosecutor ever in their right mind would have never prosecuted this claim, in my opinion, ever. This should have never been prosecuted. Clearly an excessive use of force case. Let's keep watching.
Federal and local investigators raided a local towing company, arresting its owner. All of this happening days after a Channel 2 investigation. We captured owner Richard Gonzalez's arrest amid price gouging accusations. Some Houston drivers forced to pay thousands more than they should have. Houston police just wrapped up a news conference on the raid a short while ago. Channel 2's Amy Davis spearheaded this investigation and was at today's news conference. Amy, what have you learned today?
And by the way, do you think that if Amy Davis had approached a police officer and asked them, officer, how do we know how long these cars have been parked here? Do you think their response would have been to drop her on her head? I mean, look at her. Amy's younger than Carolina. And Amy's, in my opinion, she's a bootlicker journalist. She's part of the academic, legacy media complex, right? Where they just expose what they have to expose because it's already exposed. Carolina is a true investigative journalist, like how they used to be when I was growing up, where you actually had real journalists who tried to expose corruption. Give me a bunch of ones for Carolina. Look, a lot of you guys know, her and I have gone at it and stuff because politically we don't see eye to eye and everything, but it doesn't matter to me. It's all about détente. The whole point of this channel is I don't care what your politics are. As long as you believe in natural law and you understand your rights come from your creator, not from the state, you're part of Team MPE. And I am really, really upset about what happened to her. I can only imagine if that was my mother or my wife or my daughter, I would probably be doing life in prison right now if that happened to one of my family members. So I'm really upset. And I'm going to do everything that I can within my power, short of getting locked up, to help her. Luckily, I don't live in Texas right now.
Well, they just talked about how their investigation started. It was an undercover operation, but they say it began last fall when an HPD sergeant started looking into a lot of consumer complaints about USA Auto Collision Center and decided and spoke with her superiors that really the only way to look into these allegations was to go undercover and conduct sort of a sting. That resulted in yesterday's raid. And then they talked about what they netted in that raid. They were there for hours, up to 7 to 8 hours. They arrested 4 people. They say a 5th arrest is pending, possibly more. As we told you, 41-year-old Ricardo Gonzalez, the owner, manager of the business, also arrested 34-year-old Brenda Awade. She was the notary public who worked there. 26-year-old Ruben Rendon worked in the office, and 38-year-old Andre Vasquez. He was the manager at the body shop there that overcharged so many consumers, according to HPD now, for repairs that they either didn't make or they were inflated charges. All of these people are charged with engaging in organized criminal activity. Now, they talked about just how sophisticated this operation was. We've told you about the allegations, how they say that this flipping scam, according to people familiar with the towing industry, works. But some other things they were able to confirm by going inside this business. They found